Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast. Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and Tate and I, another host here at the GSMC Podcast Network, co-hosted the Weird News Podcast for a time, and we did an episode on animals. Maybe not all pets per se, but, this is going to be an animal show, and at any rate, I wanted to bring you that episode because it was a lot of fun, and it gives you my voice and a different voice and more stories about animals, which is why you're tuning in, right? Hopefully. So let's go ahead and turn to that episode with me and my co-host, Tate. Hello and welcome to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah. You have heard me on here before, sometimes sitting in with Heidi, Ariane, and Stacy. We have a new host, though. I would like to introduce you to Tate. Say hello, Tate.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing there? Now, I have been on the show once before.
Briefly, yes.
Maybe once, maybe twice I've been on here.
I remember, I feel like it was all of us in the studio, like you, me, Heidi, Ariane, Stacy.
Yeah, it was kind of like a little party or something in there.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what we were talking about, but there may have been one other time that you sat in or just like popped in.
I've always been a fan of the show, so, being kind of like your second banana nowadays is actually kind of cool because I do love the weird and bizarre stories. I like potassium from bananas, so thank you for okay.
I don't know where that came from. Okay.
That was like the worst dad joke ever.
I know. Well, Father's Day is coming up.
Okay, sorry. Since I'll make a gender
it's okay.
specific
Father's
mom
Day is
joke.
Coming up. I can channel bad dad jokes. So I'm going to apologize to all of our listeners for, I feel like everyone's going to want to clear my throat for me. I am having crazy allergies lately and I just am all scratchy.
No scratchy. It just makes for good radio.
Really?
Or good podcasting.
Good podcasting.
You can tell I come from the radio world.
Yes. Come over to the dark side. We have podcasts. I have no cookies.
Huh? You just went right over my head there.
You know that t-shirt that says come to the dark side, we have cookies?
I have no clue what you're talking about. Never seen that ever.
Wow.
That makes you a bigger nerd than I am.
Well, we already knew that. In some ways, you're a way bigger nerd than I am.
I'm a closet nerd, but I'm not a nerd.
I'm a way bigger nerd than you are. But we have several stories to start out with today, all involving the animals and the ocean. Animals in the ocean.
I'm all about the animals. I love the ocean, even though I cannot swim.
You cannot swim. That is interesting.
I've tried hard.
I've seen you sort of scooch.
All right, before we start, I'm going to share my little weird facts that I cannot swim. I have taken swimming lessons a number of times. In college, you were required to take a swimming course. I took swimming. And the beginning level swimming, I passed it with an A-. The only reason why I didn't get the full A+ in the class is because there's a part where you have to dive into the deep end. And I was reluctant to do the dive into the deep end, so I just jumped in and grabbed the edge and pulled myself out, and they didn't give me full credit on that one.
Yeah.
Passed swimming with an A or an A-. And then I took swimming again, even though I can't swim. And cannot. I have tried so many times. I've had so many people have tried to teach me. I can propel myself through water, but I'm just never on top. I'm just always like below ground, I'm like a submarine. I can glide along the bottom like nobody's business. I've even won races swimming underwater, but can't take a breath.
You're a little weird.
A little weird news.
Weird news host.
About
weird. Yeah.
Me.
I like it.
Okay, so
each host should have to bring their own weirdness to the podcast when they, introduce themselves and say why they're weird. And so there you go.
And everyone, they don't know me that well, so they need to learn a little bit about Tate and the fact that I can't swim, but I can propel myself through water.
True story.
So I'm dangerous enough to get drowned.
Great. Well, I'm hoping you would have stayed out of the water then in this first story.
Okay, animals in water.
It was shallow. So this one comes to us from Queensland, Australia. A man named Greg McInnes was walking on the beach and saw a group of sharks had corralled a bunch of fish in the shallows, like they do, because, sharks, they eat. But the weird thing about this story is that not only were the sharks in there, but a pack of 4 dogs had jumped in and seemed like they were playing with the sharks, or they didn't seem to be aggressive towards the sharks. They just seemed to be playing with the sharks.
It just seemed like a fish block party. They saw the party going on. The dogs were like, it's time to crash it. So they dove in there to have fun.
Well, now you have dogs, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if I'm remembering rightly, you used to have sharks.
I had a black-tip reef shark, a nurse shark, and I've had bamboo sharks.
Now, obviously, when you have a shark in your home, you have it in an aquarium of some sort.
I was just going to say, in a very, very large aquarium.
Right. This isn't a shark squashed into a 10-gallon aquarium or something. But I'm guessing that you would not have had an open aquarium wherein the dogs could be like, oh, look, that looks fun. I'm going to go jump in there.
No. Especially with some of the bigger sharks. No, that would be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing I thought about this was, in the video off camera, you can hear people, possibly owners, I don't know, calling to the dogs to come out of the water, and the dogs they're like, no, we're good. They don't come out.
Well, they're having a good time. Now, one of the things when I saw this story that I thought about it immediately is it doesn't tell you what kind of sharks.
Correct.
And for the average person who hasn't dealt with sharks or know anything about sharks, most sharks, not most, but a lot of sharks are not as aggressive as people think. Everyone thinks of Jaws and great white sharks and that they're going to come through and eat you. Mm-hmm. But if you think about how many times different vacation spots will take you and go swim with the sharks, that's because a lot of those sharks aren't really looking to snack on you because you're not their preferred food. Most sharks really just want, I was going to say dog. No.
Well, here's what I'm thinking.
Fish.
The choice between fish and a hairy mouthful of dog, I'm going for fish.
Yeah, they're going to go sushi over kibbles and bits.
Well, so Greg McKinnon, the man who told about this story, said it always appears playful between the dogs and the sharks. Apparently, he's seen this before. He said the sharks are always in the shallows and the dogs are island dogs. So I'm pretty sure they know each other.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. It's kind of like once if you're used to, like back in the days, I hate to bring up a bad story, but like Crocodile Hunter, he was very comfortable with alligators.
Yeah.
So, he was very at home with them. I hate to bring up that because it ended kind of tragically, but it wasn't an alligator that got him. It was a stingray. Mm-hmm. Not meaning to bring up a bad story. One of my all-time favorite guys.
So where were you going with that?
It's just that once you get used, he's used to dealing with them. Like the dogs were used to dealing with the sharks.
Right.
So they see them jumping in there, crowling in fish. They're like, oh, let's mess up their meal. And just dove in there and just started, just playing around because they're used to them. They're island dogs.
I just like the sentence. So I'm pretty sure they know each other. Okay, now somebody needs to make a movie out of this.
I'm done with Sharknado and all the other ones, so I do not even want to see this movie.
No, not a sweet, animated film about island dogs and their buddies, the sharks.
I'm hanging with Life of Pets. That's where I'm drawing the line.
Oh, well.
No island dogs.
Okay. Well, it's almost time for us to go to our first break. We do have a little bit of time. Do you have any follow-up comments on dog versus shark?
If it was a cage match, I would take the shark over the dog unless it was on dry land.
Yes. I mean, if it was actually in a cage, I would take
Just
the
saying,
dog.
it's a cage match, but in the water.
Do they actually put the octagon like in the water?
Yes. You realize that the UFC stood for the U is for,
Underwater?
the F is for fish, underwater fish.
Well, on that note, we are going to take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, we have some more ocean fishy, mammal-y kind of stories.
No more under the fishing casting. UFC, it's lame. You got to
You
know.
accuse me of dad jokes. All right. Well, stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Weird News and apparently Dad Jokes podcast.
We'll be back.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News podcast. Before the break, we were talking about sharks and dogs playing together happily in the shallows in Australia.
Yes, we were. Sultry sounds of sharks and dogs.
I don't even know what to say to that. This next story involves a whale, but no dogs. A beluga whale that was spotted by fishermen off Norway's coast, and they spotted it, and it was wearing a harness. So,
Aquaman? That's okay. Can't lie to you. That's the first thing I thought of is if a shark's wearing a harness. A whale's wearing a harness. They got to be Aquaman, and I'm not even talking about the new Aquaman movie. I'm thinking about like the 80s, 70s, and 80s Super Friends kind of Aquaman.
Okay. Well, no. So this one, the Norwegian Directorate of Fisheries posted pictures and video on social media saying white whale off the Finnmarkston coast that had tight straps fastened around its body is free. Okay, so that's good news.
Free to ride, or is he free to?
I think he's free from the harness.
Oh, okay.
Or
Sorry, I'm like they're charging him to ride.
I don't know. So he had two round straps that were fastened around the whale, and they were clipped with buckles. So now the fishermen are trained to like free whales from, like nets or ropes or something. So they keep an eye out for these things. And they saw the harness, and when they actually got the harness off and were looking at it, it said equipment of St. Petersburg.
Okay.
That
went over my head. Am I missing something here?
Well, I don't know. What do you think? If you found a harness on a whale that said equipment of St. Petersburg, what would it make you think?
Nothing.
Spy whale.
Oh, okay. Boy, someone's been watching a little too many movies here.
So
one too many spy movies.
Well, so
spy whale.
So Audun Rikardson is a professor at the Department of Arctic and Marine Biology at the Arctic University of Norway, and he told the national broadcaster, "We know that in Russia they have had domestic whales in captivity, and also that some of these have apparently been released. Then they often seek out boats." So he said that he had spoken with Russian counterparts who said they did not know of any scientific projects involving belugas. They tell me that it is most likely the Russian Navy in Murmansk. he said.
Oh, so he actually really could be a spy whale.
It could be a spy whale. Now, it just had a harness on it. It doesn't seem like the harness was holding anything or that it had, like a GoPro on it.
Is it wrong of me? See, now I'm thinking about 007 movies and I'm like, spy whale.
Right.
The shark
right.
being the fish that shagged me.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's just wrong. So I don't think we have any definitive conclusions from this, except that it did say equipment of St. Petersburg. Maybe they were doing some kind of like tracking or something, but.
So this could be someone's pet beluga whale?
I don't think so.
He has a harness.
I don't think it's like a harness that you take him for a walk on.
Whenever I see my dogs and they have a harness, that's like, or you see a dog, that's someone's dog.
Right.
If there's a stray dog running down the street and he has a harness, it's like, we got to get him and get him home.
Well,
so I see the whale with the harness. I'm like, we got to take him to St. Petersburg.
See, I just worry about the whale. I mean, what if they put it on and then the whale grew and then the straps were too tight and they're squeezing in on him? That makes me sad.
I thought about that as well.
So, I don't like when we make animals into spies.
Well, I don't. Or squeeze into small harnesses.
I don't know that he's a spy, but really it's a better story if the whale is a spy.
Okay, I agree with you.
And it turns out that animal espionage is not unknown.
No, it is not. I read a story on that. They were using beetles at one point in time.
Beetles?
Yes.
Like the bugs?
Yes.
Okay, tell me more.
I think it was University of Davis that was working with them. No, beetles and cockroaches. I think they were using to use like technology so that they could train bugs to fly certain places and go certain places, and they would have little trackers and little monitors on them, and you could get information. So
you were literally bugging people.
Bugging people.
That just makes me think of Harry Potter.
Okay, you lost me again.
Really? Come on, you've read Harry Potter. What happens?
I have read.
What happens in book 4 with
the fact that book 4 chapter?
Of course, I know which book
verse.
it is. It's the Tri-Wizard Tournament, and Rita Skeeter.
I didn't even know that was a Tri-Wizard Tournament.
Rita Skeeter keeps getting all this information, and they're trying to figure out how she's getting these interviews and stuff. And then toward the end of the book, Hermione slaps her hand down, and she captures a water beetle. That happens to be Rita Skeeter, who is an unregistered animagus.
I didn't have the director's cut. I didn't get that one. I don't remember that.
You have read that book multiple times.
I've read the book.
Don't remember.
No, I've only read the book once. Read the book once, seen the movie twice.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so beetles are one thing, but for decades, did you know that the U.S. Navy has been training dolphins and sea lions to detect explosives at sea?
Yes, I did know that. That's an interesting one.
Yes, so the Marine Mammal Program is based in San Diego, and its teams have been deployed during both the Vietnam War and the Iraq War. What have you heard about it?
Pretty much that they use. I knew they used them during the Vietnam. I thought Korea as well.
Possibly.
But I didn't think about it as far as the most recent Iraqi war.
Well, when you think of Iraq, you think of desert. I don't think of dolphins and mines.
No, I think of the Persian Gulf. I can see how that goes down.
I understand that, but my first thought is immediately sand.
So you're picturing this dolphin out on this oasis.
So their work isn't just a matter of mine hunting, although they can detect explosives. They're also used to protect forces against enemy divers and to recover objects.
That's actually very cool. I would love to dive into that a little bit more. I may dive into that a little bit more and see what's going on with that one.
Yeah, so in a media display for CNN in 2011, a former Navy SEAL was told to attempt to attach an inert limpet mine on a Navy ship. Every time the swimmer attempted to attach the mine, they were intercepted by a dolphin or a sea lion, which would attach a clamp-like device to their leg, allowing the security boat to reel them in. How cool is that?
Wow, that is crazy.
I mean, that is. I knew dolphins were smart, but
so if you're the spy, and let's say you're a Russian spy, and you get captured, and you got to go report back to Putin that you got captured by a dolphin
or a sea lion.
A sea lion put handcuffs on your ankle. I'm defecting.
out of
I'm defecting to Portugal, somewhere like that. I'm not going back.
I'm not. Nope. Out of the 5 attempts, the people were intercepted 5 times. So
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. And they felt an aggressive bump when the mammal caught up with them. The former Navy SEAL is quoted as saying, "Despite all of my efforts at concealment, I was an easy target for the dolphins in its natural environment."
I'm sorry. If I have to report it back to my superiors and this big old sea lion has just handcuffed me or put a tracker on me and I get captured, I'm lying. I'm saying it was a beluga whale and he had a harness.
Yeah, but then that's supposedly yours. The U.S. Navy does say that it has never trained its marine mammals for attack missions. Do you know why?
Why? The 2 dolphins are too sweet and too nice?
Well, no, they'll handcuff you in a heartbeat. But
or because they don't have opposable thumbs and they can't pull the trigger.
No, it's because they are unable to distinguish between friendly and enemy forces.
Okay.
So, they don't care.
They just handcuff everybody.
They handcuff everybody. You're swimming near their territory. They're like,
Little Mermaid comes by. She's handcuffed.
Yes. On that note, are you ready to take another break?
Let's do this.
Okay. So when we come back, we'll have more weirdness I can only imagine. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Weird News Podcast, and we'll be right back.
Beluga.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Weird News Podcast. Tate, you look like you want to say something.
Nope.
Deep thoughts? No?
Nope, not thinking at all.
Okay. Wow. There's nothing going on in Tate's brain.
I am a blank slate.
Well, I am having so much fun talking to you about animals and espionage and everything. And so we're going to do a little weird history now.
Ooh, love history.
I know you love history. I was a history major. How many animals served in World War I? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to say, let's see. Lassie, Old Yeller, and Bugs Bunny.
Three animals served in World War. You're close. 16 million.
16 million animals?
Well, think about the horses. I mean, we were still using cavalry in World War I.
World War I, they were still using horses.
And horse and camel mounted troops.
Yes. Elephants as well, right?
I think maybe so, but they were also, so animals were used for transport, communication, and companionship.
Want to know how pathetic this is?
What?
The reason why I know this is because of a video game, and there was some people coming out on horses. It was a World War I video game, and there were some fighters on horses, and they were pulling wagons, but there was a group of people that were riding on elephants. That's the only reason why I know this from a video game.
Which may or may not
solid
be
information.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
like getting your world news from Facebook.
Okay.
Not reliable.
No, not usually unless you double check it. So, we had horse and camel mounted troops on the Western Front. And that became a little more difficult to use cavalry as we started using new weapons like machine guns.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that would not be good.
This is when war is starting to change away from cavalry and more toward trench warfare. But animals did remain a crucial part of the war effort. Horses, donkeys, mules, and camels carried food, water, ammunition, and medical supplies to men at the front. Dogs and pigeons were used to carry messages.
Right.
Canaries were used to detect poisonous gas. Sucks for the canary.
The canary is just hanging out in his cage, and if he gets drunk and passes out, you run.
Yeah, he's dead. Cats and dogs were trained to hunt rats in the trenches, which is very important, but that just gives you an idea of trench warfare. That
Wait a minute, but okay. Now I do remember something with rats. Didn't they attach explosives to rats?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, sorry about that.
Maybe, but dogs, cats, and more unusual animals, including monkeys, bears, and lions, were kept as pets.
Okay, pets are different
And
than
mascots,
serving.
yes, to raise morale and provide comfort amidst the hardships of war. In fact, I just read an article the other day about, and I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize, but it was about the dog that was considered the first comfort animal. You know how we have emotional comfort animals?
Okay.
So it was either World War I or World War II. I think it maybe have been World War II. And this soldier got a dog. It wasn't an official dog, but it flew missions with him. It did all this stuff. He wasn't an official dog, so he had to smuggle it home at the end of the war. It was disguised as something else. I got to find that story. It was
Okay,
really
that guy
interesting.
needs a girlfriend.
Maybe. And now here is a picture. Do you see this picture?
I do. Okay, this is the picture. I'll describe it for our audience.
Thank you.
It's a battleship.
The HMS Dreadnought.
And it's one of the big giant guns in the front, the front cannon, and it has a cat inside of it.
Togo, the cat mascot of the battleship HMS Dreadnought. That seems dangerous, Togo. Get out of there.
Makes me think of Catapult.
Oh, so these are pictures. Now we're in this article we're looking at. There's a bunch of mascot pictures. So here's a fox.
The Red Baron with a red fox.
I don't think it's the Red Baron, but then we have pictures of camels carrying wounded soldiers. That would be very important. The dogs who are, what do you think those dogs are used for?
But, dogs have been used. Dogs are still used right to this day for sniffing out drugs, sniffing out bombs. There's a whole bunch of things dogs are used for.
Absolutely. These are Red Cross dogs.
Oh, okay.
So they're probably carrying supplies and helping, sniff out wounded or, horses wearing gas masks. That's scary. Anyway,
I got no comment on the gas masking dogs. Horses.
Here's a monkey on a German trench mortar.
The monkey goes and grabs the gunpowder. Then I'm making that up.
He's making that up. Anyway, so animals have been used in war a lot. This article turned into more mascots than actually. Here's a working dog. He's laying telephone wire.
Actually, that's kind of smart. The picture, I'm going to describe the picture. There's a dog and he has a harness on, not like the whale, but he has a harness on.
Could be like the whale. We don't know.
And there's a spindle on his back. And as he runs to the next location, the wire is laid down. So it runs one wire to the next location, and now you have telephone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes, so that makes sense. Although, I'm an animal lover, so I'm just thinking of landmines and things where the animals are blowing up. And
war is never a
but
fun
of course,
thing. But
it's not like I want the humans to blow up either. I'm not saying, don't use the animals, go send the humans.
See, in place of drones, place of animals, we have drones now.
Yes.
Which is nice. So hopefully there's no more wars, but there won't be 16 million animals in the war next time.
Oh, it's just the fact that there will be a war next time makes me sad. I'm sad. Weird news has made me sad. Do you know of any other animals being used in wartime? What can you think of?
In wartime, no, except for I know that the passenger pigeon became extinct because of war.
Oh.
So
do you want to share more weird historian animal?
Well, the passenger pigeon was used to deliver messages from one line to the next line, and they were very accurate at doing this. And so I believe, I can't remember which war it was. I don't know why I have the Civil War popped in my head, but they started, anytime they saw one of the birds in the air, they would just start shooting them down. And so it got to the point where
they actually went extinct.
Became endangered.
Killed them all?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And the last passenger pigeon died in captivity.
Well, yeah, I would think so. I mean, unless there's like a secret colony of passenger pigeons somewhere. And I realized that ended kind of strangely with the secret colony of passenger pigeons somewhere. There was a brief conversation after that, but had nothing to do with anything really. So I just chose to end with the secret colony of passenger pigeons because it leaves you with a little bit of an air of mystery. At any rate, if you are a fan of pets and animals, then you should definitely subscribe to this show. Since we're a new show, that would really help us out. Subscribing, liking, following, retweeting, doing all those wonderful things, along with giving us a nice reviews and some 5-star ratings would really help us out. So thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Pets podcast. Join me again next time for more animal-related stories. Thanks. You've been listening to the GSMC Pets podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.